Okay. Tell me what your whole name is.
Howard Laverne Martin.
Were you named after anyone? Were you named
No, I'm the only family member not named after a relative. My name was given to me by my oldest sister as a wedding present. That's what her request was. She was married 1 month before my birth, and her request was to be allowed to give me a name. And she never, never in her life let me forget that I was Laverne, and I tried all my life to hide it.
Is that with an E on the end, or is it L?
E-Laverne. She gave me that name, and every time I saw her all her life, she reminded me where I got my name.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had 5 brothers and 4 sisters.
And what were their names?
Oldest is Ernest. Second is Ida Victoria. 3 is James William. 4 is Earl Bradford. 5 is Ruby May. 6 is Mary Alice. 7 is Edward Eugene. 8 is Margaret Elizabeth. 9 is Howard Laverne. Number 10 is Emery Brazelton.
R-A-Z-Z?
R-A-1-Z. That's us.
That's a 10. Wow, that is really a wonderful family. And you were raised where?
Tillman.
Now, when you say Tillman, where is that?
Tillman is southwest of Fort Meade. It's at one time it was its own community. It was a phosphate mine that had everything that we needed to exist. We had a company store. We had a church. We had a school.
About how many were there a lot of people out there? Is that a big community, or?
Well, I would say at the very height was probably 130 families out there involved in the Tillman mine.
So when you say that, in other words, a community would collect around where the mine was?
Yeah, well, actually we lived in company houses. The company furnished our house. The house I grew up in is not where I was born. That house I grew up in was built for the chief engineer, which my dad was, but when he left Brewster to come to Tillman, he had been a farmer off and on when he could. So he purchased 20 acres just a little ways from the mine and built a house, and that's where I lived.
That's where you grew up?
That's where I was born.
Oh, okay.
And that house burned down in 1929. Then that's when we moved into the chief engineer's house in Tillman. We've been sitting there all these years empty because we lived. So we moved in the row houses, they had these row houses. Life was good for us out there. We didn't know anything bad. We probably were poor, but we didn't know that. We just took life as it came. We swam in the Tillman pools, we fished, we hunted alligators, we killed moccasins, we just rattlesnakes, we just lived out in the woods. But we loved the mine, the power plant, and the trains that all the stuff, and it was a tremendous thrill. First time they let me ride in that train engine all the way from Tillman to what is now the district road, the number 2 and 4 tours were there. We went out there to get a load of rock. That was my greatest thrill, my first time of ever being on a train and watch that guy shovel that hole in that boiler, and we trooped out there and came back. But I spent a lot of time with my dad in the power plant, and he explained a lot of things to me, and as he did with the older boys, he took us all in there, and so we kind of followed that for our entire life, more or less. We were all involved in something mechanical, except two of my children are in different things, but one happened to follow his dad. But all the Martin boys all did the same thing. We all worked in power plants, and my dad in Orlando, back in my early life, the only power plants really that existed were in the phosphate mines. No one else had electricity.
You mean cities didn't have that?
Not then. Not in then. Fort Meade was one of the first we'll get today.
Okay.
But way back, out in the mines, we all had a light bulb in each room. And it went on at 6 o'clock in the morning. You could turn it on at 6 in the morning. And I often wondered why we had that light all day. But at 9 o'clock at night, that was turned off.
So you didn't turn it off, they turned it off? The power
All
plant?
the power was turned off. And my dad was usually the one that turned the lights off. And at 15 minutes till 9 every night, he blinked the lights 3 times. And every house in Tillman knew that either you light a lamp or you go to bed. And most of us went to bed. And when the light went out. But eventually, of course, other places, towns begin to get their own power plants. But in the beginning, phosphate mines brought the first ones here, and my dad, of course, had come to Florida on a barge from Tennessee that took him 4 months to get here, and he set up a sawmill in Torrey.
That was your dad that
My
did
dad.
that? Okay.
Set up a sawmill out in Torrey and made the first orange grapes made in Florida. And basically that's why he came here, because my uncle had the sawmill in Tennessee, and things were getting kind of rough. Someone told him Florida's booming. Came down here and found out Florida, the trains were beginning to come, and it was harder to load a barrel of oranges on a train than it was on a ship, because the ships had big hoists that they could pick them up. Trains didn't. So they needed another way to ship oranges. So my uncle came back and told my dad, at that time my dad had become the operator of this sawmill. To get it packed up, he had contacted a barge company, and they were going to send a barge up the French Broad River in Tennessee to load that sawmill on that barge. And we're going to Florida to build orange boxes.
What was your uncle's name?
Arthur Manis.
Spell that for me.
Manis was his last name. Arthur Manis was my great uncle, my dad's uncle. And actually he raised my dad. But anyway, my dad got on this barge that there were several barges together when they started out. And they went down the French Broad River to the Tennessee River, and then the Ohio River, to the Mississippi, all the way down and came around to what is now Port Charlotte or Punta Gorda, but then it was just where the river dumped in the ocean. And when they arrived there, the barge could not go up Peace River, but they had smaller barges at that time, and this is told to me, I can't say this, but supposedly they had barges that only drew 12 inches of water on Peace River, and they came up as far as the junction of Paynes Creek, and there was apparently a loading place there. There was an Indian village there also, and that was a unloading place for the barges and wagons and whatever else. I guess took it around from there, but that was his directions, was to go up the Peace River to Paynes Creek, and the Paynes Creek was supposed to be able to carry that barge to Torrey, but they hit a sandbar in the river, and they couldn't get the barge past. And several years ago, I went hunting that sandbar and found it, and it wasn't really there, but he had to get off at that sandbar. But it was 2.5 miles from the pine thicket that my uncle had arranged for the sawmill to be put. So they had 2 mules that came with them on the barge. They got people, I don't know who or what, I just know that he found someone to put logs under that old sawmill, and they drug it across some woods to where it was set up in Torrey. And the location is probably 1/2 mile northeast of where the old Torrey schoolhouse was. That's the location.
Is that on 17, or is
Yeah,
that
it's off 17.
It is on 17.
It's right off 17, and the entrance. Well, it used 17 at one time made a circle through Torrey. It wasn't straight through. Had a little road, and at the corner. It's hard to explain that unless you grew up here, but back in the early days, all roads went through every little town. You can go around the town. You went through the town. And of course, the 17 went through Fort Meade, and it went out and turned, and it went straight down, followed down to Bowling Green, and circled through Bowling Green. Then it got down to Torrey, and you had to make another right turn and go 1/2 mile, and then a left, and go through the little community of Torrey, and then back out to where now is the other 17.
Well, now, is Torrey anywhere near where Torrey Oaks Golf Course is?
Oh yeah, that's Torrey.
Is that?
That's Torrey.
Okay.
That's Torrey. Now.
So it was, the
Bill-
sawmill was somewhere out in that
Yeah,
vicinity.
okay. Now, Bill Lambert's father-in-law owns the property where the sawmill was.
So once he got the sawmill here, and he got it up, and he was running, what made him leave that profession? I'm going too fast?
No, you're not going too fast. Then Brewster opened.
That's
Phosphate.
another
Phosphate
mine.
mine, big mine. They needed somebody that could be their chief engineer. So they found him.
And his name was, what's your mother and father's name?
James William Martin. Roberta Martin was my mother.
Okay.
Well, actually, not James William, I'm sorry. James Thomas Brazelton Martin was my dad.
Razzleton?
Brazelton.
Like your brother, like
Yeah,
your brother.
right. James Thomas Brazelton Martin, and my mother was Roberta Barbie Martin.
Okay. So he went to Brewster, where the
He
big
went
mine
to
was.
Brewster to be their chief engineer. Now, towards the end of World War I, Bowling Green.
They went to Bowling Green.
Yeah,
I
we
noticed
came to
a
Fort
lot of
Meade.
people went to Bowling Green.
Yes, we came to Fort Meade because my grandparents lived in Fort Meade.
And what was their names?
Barbie.
First and last. What's their first?
Well, Joseph, but he died before I was born. But Mary Frances was my grandmother. Mary Frances White Barbie.
W-H-I-T-E.
Yeah, that was her maiden name, White. And then she married James Barbie was his name.
His name was what?
James Barbie was her husband.
Oh, okay.
He was quite a bit older than her. He was in the Civil War and was older, and he died a year after they came to Florida. He didn't last very long, but both families followed my dad and mama down there. The entire families. My grandparents on both sides all came to Florida. Maybe
This was
things were
home.
bad in Tennessee,
Yeah.
but they all came to Florida.
So, tell me about Fort Meade, the
Okay.
way you remember it.
Okay, Fort Meade, the way.
Was Fort Meade bigger than Bowling Green, or
Oh yeah, but Fort
Bowling
Meade.
Green was just
Oh
closer
yes,
to you?
I had an awful time when I went to the Bowling Green School because I was supposed to be better than everybody else because I went to the big school. And when I was in Fort Meade, we all looked forward through, especially in the 3rd and 4th grades, that we were going to get to go to the big school. The big school to us then was the high school,
So where was the elementary school?
where it is now, but it's
Down at
Hey,
Lewis?
yeah.
It was where Lewis is.
Yeah, it's part of the original building is there. I've been investigating. Part
Right.
of the original building is there,
Right.
but the high school building was between whatever the street is before Oak. Is that Lanier?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's where the high school was.
Where the gym is, where the cafeteria
Yeah,
is?
yeah.
That was the high school?
That was the high school. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. That was the old Fort Meade High School. Was there, and it went all the way back. I can't remember how far back, but the roads back there were all dirt roads. I mean, the road behind the school, the side of the school, all muddy, and
Right.
that's where the school buses went. And when it was in a rainy season, we had to get out in the mud.
So where they have the cafeteria, they have tried to preserve that building, and that was the old gymnasium. If you go to the Lewis,
They didn't have a gymnasium when I was there.
well, evidently they built one after you, because the cafeteria now is the,
The only thing we had, other than the high school building, was the agricultural building and the home cooking, or whatever you call it,
economics.
home economics. That was a separate building.
So they didn't have a gym.
And that was right next to Lanier Street. It was
Okay.
behind the school, but not directly behind, because the school didn't exist, didn't go all the way to Lanier. But this agriculture building was right on Lanier Street.
So did you have a football field there?
No, the football field was right where I'm sitting.
Right here at the City Mobile Home Park.
Yeah.
So you came down a few blocks and you had your football field here.
Yes,
Okay.
football field was right here. And at halftime, then, you didn't have a place to go. There was a big oak tree here. And each team had half of that oak tree for your halftime,
To rest and get out of the...
get rest and tell what to do the next time. But
So you
they're-
were listening to each
they're
other.
right on the other side of the tree. That's the way we did it. I mean, eventually now, was in Bowling Green, they did put stands here, and they put a baseball field back here and a softball field, and I came up here to play against them. I was a softball pitcher there in Bowling Green. I was a shortstop on the baseball team. Everybody played everything because we wasn't very many of us. But we came here to play against the Strawberry. Before
The
they had
big
the
school.
Strawberry School, we played the American Legion. The American Legion used to have a big thing in Florida.
There you go. Okay, the American Legion had a,
But all the American Legions had these football teams in all these little towns. I mean, not Bowling Green, but Wauchula and Fort Meade. So we, as a high school, the first year, we played the American Legion team.
were they adults?
They were high school students, but they were all the way up through seniors. So they were mostly older than us, but we played them. We played
So
them.
you were kind of like junior varsity, the younger kids?
Yeah. Yeah. So we played the American Legion teams and in Wauchula and Fort Meade.
How far did you go? What was,
Furthest we went to Sarasota once, which was a thrill of a lifetime for us kids. And we were told by the coach if there's enough time after the game we were going to play, and I can't remember, but one of the big league training camps, that's where we got to play baseball, which we couldn't believe. That old Fort Bowling Green is getting to, and I can't remember the team, but it was a bigger team over there. The coach, he was always trying to make us bigger than we were. But he got us over there and he said, if we have time after the game, be sure to bring your bathing suits. I'll take you to the beach. So let me tell you how I got kicked out of school. Can you hear that?
yes.
I arrived at school this morning that we're going to Sarasota after school. I had my bathing suit. My friend, who was related to me through marriage, approached the school and I saw him coming and he didn't have his little sack with him. So I said, did you forget your bathing suit? Oh, come with me. We'll go home and get it. I said, we'll be late. No, we'll go fast. Because he lived in Torrey. He's on his bicycle, I rode my bike. So we took off like a bullet. I don't know why I went with him, but I did. And we went to his house and grabbed his bathing suit. We get back and they had just opened the new 17. It just had opened. So we got on the new 17 and we were pedaling like crazy
On your bicycle?
on our bicycle. We came through the Orange Grove, back through Torrey. We didn't take the old Torrey road. We went through the Orange Grove to get on the new road because we thought it was quicker. And we were pedaling, and I happened to look back, and here comes the principal in his little truck. So I said to Dale, Guthrie's back there behind us. And he said, let's run under the bridge. So we shot down under the bridge. Well, he went by. He didn't stop, he went by. We got out, we figured, boy, we fooled him. We're pedaling. We get to school, it's like 4 minutes after school. I mean, it just started. And we jumped off to run in, he's standing at the door. And he said, you're late. You're playing hooky. We didn't play hooky, we went to get a bathing suit. Go home. Bring your parents back. Because you were here and you left, you know. So anyway, I was, at that time, I happened to be staying with my sister to help her take care of her children. So I went to her and I said, I got kicked out of school. And Dale, which was her brother-in-law, I mean, she was married. And I said, Dale got kicked out too. So he said I had to bring my parents back with me to come back to school. So the next day, we went. And we're sitting in there, and the principal is going on and on and on about a good student I am, a good this, and he just got the wrong friends. He just going on and on. He just got the wrong friends. So he kept going and going. So finally, my sister said, "Who is the wrong friends?" I said, "Dale." She said, "I'm here to represent him too. He's my brother-in-law." And that blew over. He said, "Go back in class. Forget it." He just got so flustered he didn't know what to do.
But you didn't get to go to the beach. You didn't get to go to the beach.
We didn't get to go to the beach, but we went anyway. But that was it. So anyway, you want to know? Do we have time to talk?
Yes, I'd like for you to tell me about Fort Meade a little bit. I know that
Okay.
that was probably not your main place to go.
But I spent a lot of time in Fort Meade.
Okay.
I did. I lived here with my grandmother.
When did you live with your grandmother?
Where did I live? At 6th and Oak. Well, not exactly Oak. There was a little dirt road, and I went out. I found the lot, and it belongs to the Bobbitts. At the time, the Bobbitts lived behind us.
Is that northeast or southeast?
Northeast. 6th Street, northeast. At that time, 6th Street was the last street. We didn't have 7th, 8th, and 9th Street. We just had 6th Street. That was the last street. But none of those streets had numbers back then. The only one I can remember having a number was Broadway and Oak. I don't think anybody. I mean, all these numbered names were new to me when I came back after the name. We didn't have Broadway and Oak had a name. That's all that I remember. I mean, maybe there were other streets had names, but I don't remember any street having a name. I don't remember her having a sign said 6th Street.
Were the streets paved?
No, Oak Street was paved, but 6th Street was not paved. Now I think maybe 1st and 2nd was paved. I can't remember. The 6th Street then was not paved, but it was paved when I came from the Navy. It was a paved street then. But the street that went behind it was not paved. And there was another street, the Oak Street, I guess it was, I don't know if it was Oak, but across 6th, it extended back down there a little ways, but that was dirt. Oak ended at 6th, because
that was the end.
If farms, back there, nothing was organized behind 6th Street. My grandmother lived on 6th Street, but the people that lived back wherever they had a farm or whatever, just scattered around. Nothing was in order, rows, whatever, but at 6th Street, the houses were in a row.
Well, now the train is now used for phosphate, but back then it was used to...
A passenger train.
It was passenger train.
It was a passenger train. We had a railroad station, and where the museum is now was a hotel. There was a hotel. Next to the hotel was an old ice house where they sold ice. Next to the ice house was a power plant where they made the power. And the Coca-Cola bottling plant, when it started, was started down there. And all behind there, Tecumseh, the only thing that existed was Highway 17. The old go out now and made that turn by where the little gas station thing is. But nothing was behind there. Of course, now it's not organized either. If you go back, they just scattered. But there is a lot of things back there. But then there was nothing behind. And as you cross the railroad track was a big rooming house right across the railroad track.
Do you remember any names?
Margaret. That's all I can remember. I don't remember her last name. I remember Margaret.
Was the town developed west?
Well, there wasn't any streets out here. uh, along Broadway there was things. There wasn't anything here except that this was the baseball field.
In the other direction, was it developed? Like
No.
if you go through town out that way, was it developed?
Well, on Broadway, only Broadway, none of those side streets.
Okay.
Then just Broadway was developed, and then
And that ended at the railroad and the boarding house or the hotel and all
the
that.
others went on past the railroad. The other house, there was houses on each side there, all the way out to that curve. And then when you made the curve, there was a few houses out there, but they were not they were just houses where people owned property and built a house. And as you went, of course, that was the road you traveled in. I mean, we didn't have that other road.
Well, now, you were raised, as far as living out at Tillman, you were raised way out in the country.
Oh, yes.
And you kind of did, rambling things as a young boy.
Yes, I did.
So when you started to school here in Fort Meade, you made friends here
Yeah.
up in town, you might say.
Yeah.
Did you come to town, and what did you do when you came to town?
Here?
Uh-huh. When you came to Fort Meade, what was it like as far as, do you remember any memories? Do you have any memories?
Well, they had a movie house, and the guy that ran the movie is now, if he's still alive, will be 89 this year, and he happens to be a priest up at St. Leo, and you need to go see him. All during the Depression, he ran when we paid a dime, and next Saturday we played a nickel to go see them long continued story. Father Mike is now what he's, I can't remember, but he, all during the Depression, he ran the projector for the movie house.
So he was just a boy, wasn't he?
Yeah, young guy. He was older than I was, but he I don't know if he finished school, but that was his job. He ran that all during there, and now he's a priest up at St. Leo. I mean, he's retired and all that, but he does fill in, and occasionally.
Where is St. Leo?
Dade City. You haven't been to St. Leo, man. When I come back, man, you're going.
Okay.
But anyway, once in a while, when the priest from Bartow can't come to Fort Meade on Saturday, Sunday morning, once in a while, Father Mike comes. And here, am I talking too much?
Not at all. Just want to make sure I'm getting you.
Okay. Is it working?
Sure is.
And I'm talking all
And
this.
you're talking, and you just keep right on.
Okay. Well, anyway, Father Mike occasionally comes to this little Catholic church out here. So, to my amazement, one Sunday morning, who should get up there but dear old Father Mike. And the first thing he said, because most of the people were from somewhere else, and he said something about, you're all scattered around the country, but I just want you to know I'm from Fort Meade. And so he went on and on about his life here in Fort Meade. And I told Janice, you need to go over there and get a hold of him, because he wandered the streets here for, and he would know, because he was part of the operation of Fort Meade.
Right.
And he would remember the Langford drugstore better than us, or the Varnes, or the grocery store down the street there that was there. And
Now, who was your best friend here when you were a kid?
In school?
Did you have a? Yeah.
Oh yes, I had several. Well, I probably, I don't know. I had a few: Royce Altman, Bernard Barn, Reagan Barnett. Betty Durrance and I were buddies.
Betty?
Betty, nobody knows Betty but me.
Why you say that?
Because nobody can remember her. She's a pretty girl. But she was my friend here. Like Helen was my friend in Bowling.
Right.
She was my friend here. Betty Durrance. We rode the bus together.
And you're very athletic. So did you participate in sports while you were in Fort Meade? Or are you too young then?
No, I didn't. No, I tried, but I couldn't.
Because this
Get
was the
home.
big school.
I couldn't get home.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I had to walk home, and I tried. That's too much. I didn't have a bicycle, and I tried. And no, so we didn't do that. But we did come. Had a little activities with the FFA. We managed to get in, but that wasn't sports. You know,
Yeah.
that was just different things. We did get involved with that a little bit.
So you grew up, you moved away, and you got married. What was your wife's name?
Dolores.
And you have two sons.
3 sons.
Three sons. And what are their names?
Howard Jr., Kevin, and Brian.
Any grandchildren?
I have 2 grandsons, and I have 2 step granddaughters.
And when you're not in Fort Meade, you're in where?
Woodlawn Park, Kentucky.
Which is close to?
Louisville. Actually, we're part of Louisville.
And so how long have you been coming back to Fort Meade?
2003.
You've done an awful lot for the museum. You and your family, your nephews, Robert and Ronald, and
Like you, the museum just hit me right smack in the middle. I couldn't believe it was all Fort Meade.
beautiful place.
And I don't think what I envisioned with what I did was ever going to take place. But I hope it does.
Well, we're doing all that we can to make
I
sure
mean,
that
my
it does.
vision
Yeah, tell us
is
your vision.
probably different, but my thoughts when I decided I had to do this was I wanted this to take pictures of the museum, the insides, outside, everything, especially the second floor, because half of the people that go there can't go to the second floor. So my vision, and I've told it to everybody, and I don't think it sinks in, was for that television set to be playing all the time with scenes from upstairs, close scenes from upstairs, and then someone talking about what they like about Fort Meade, and then more scenes. And I don't think that's sinking in.
It'll get there. You were also the instigator of getting some dignitaries to acknowledge the museum. Now, was that your idea or was that Robert's?
The first one was Robert's. The rest was mine. Robert called me and said that he had a friend in Tallahassee that is on terms speaking with the governor. And what would I like for the governor, to do, to recognize, get him to write a letter acknowledging the fact that what all these volunteers have done to restore this thing, so that Robert called me back and he said, we're really not sure, but he's received the message. Well, then shortly the letter came. So then I thought, well, we need to get local representatives to, especially Fort Meade needs to acknowledge that they've got this museum. So I started with all the different ones, and to this day there's one I missed and nobody seems to know who he is, but eventually I'll find out. But I missed one. I know I have, they have to be there, but the ones I called all agreed to do that, and they did. They responded promptly. It took me a little while to catch up with Melanie, but eventually I did.
So everybody from, like I
Everybody
said,
that-
from City Hall to
Yeah,
the nation's capital
yeah.
is represented.
It's
That was a
represented.
wonderful thing
They
that
all
you did.
responded, but there's one that I couldn't find out who he is, but I know he exists because I got the state representative, and I mean the federal representative, but I don't have the state
The senator.
senator.
I'll get that for you.
Yeah, I don't have him. Yeah.
Well, this has been a wonderful interview. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about Fort Meade, about your experiences in Fort Meade?
No, I just breathe better in Fort Meade. I like to come to Fort Meade, but I have family in Kentucky, and my doctors are all there, and they're telling me I have to come because supposedly my asbestos has crept up to my, so I'm going back.
Well, thank you so much for this time. I appreciate it. I'll miss you when you're not here to share more.
Okay, thank you. Brewster was paying the regular employees $2.50 for a 12-hour day, and they had to work 6 days a week, and they got $2.50 a day, and they worked 12-hour days, $2.50. Well, they decided right after, towards, well, maybe, I'm not sure where the war fit in, but somewhere along there, they went on strike. So when they went on strike, my dad was not a union member because he was the chief engineer. So he didn't want to be a scab. But Tillman also at that time needed a chief engineer. So that meant we went to Tillman. Now, my family, the way we were born, my oldest brother was born in Tennessee. The next three children were born in Torrey. The next three children were born in Brewster, and the next three in Tillman. So we kind of skipped around. But anyway, this is not interesting.
Yes, it is, very much. First three were born in Brewster, the next three were born in Tillman. No, the first three were born in Tennessee.
One born in Tennessee,
Okay.
three born in Torrey, 3 born in Brewster, 3 born in Tillman. That makes 10. That's the way we order.
All right, I've got that down. That's interesting. People want to know where people are born.
Yeah, no.
So then you grew up as a young boy in Tillman, which is about 3 miles or so
Well, it's 7 miles plus.
from
Fort Meade.
Fort Meade. Okay. Just about into
It's
Bowling Green, but
yes, it's about a mile from the county line. It's just about a mile. In fact, the entrance there used to be an entrance, well there still is, but you can't, on the county line road that went to Tillman, and another entrance was what now is called the Hutchison Road. That was another entrance to Tillman. That was a loop that went to Tillman. But the old Tillman Road itself, where my house was, it's still, they didn't dig it up. It's there. And the mine let me go out and trample around on my old place. But,
so when you grew up out there and catching all your alligators and water moccasins and everything,
yeah,
you went to school there. You started school there,
first grade.
first grade. So you went to the Tillman School. And the Tillman School, of course, that property has all been mined. There's nothing there.
Nothing.
Nothing
All
is
been
there.
mined. All been mined.
Okay, so the first grade was at Tillman. Then where did you go?
Fort Meade.
Okay, from the second grade through
The 9th grade.
the 9th grade. And then what happened?
Well, if you went to school, you could only pick strawberries on Saturday during the strawberry season. So they decided when things really got rough, because the Depression hit Florida a couple of years before the rest of the country. So we were in kind of bad straits. The mine began mining less. Eventually they began to close, then did close. So things began to go. So someone had the bright idea of starting a strawberry school that would get out in December so we could pick the kids could pick strawberries to help their families in January, February, March, and early April. So Bowling Green had only an 8th grade school. So it was decided that that would be the first school to start a strawberry school, and they would put in the 9th grade the first year, and then go up 1 grade each year. Well, I applied immediately, but they wouldn't accept me because I was in Polk County. So I went to 9th grade then in Fort Meade, which had been going. But towards the end of that year, we were notified that we would now be accepted in Bowling Green. So I left Fort Meade, not only me, but a lot of us, especially the Tillman front. We left and went to Bowling Green.
So you started 10th grade.
10th grade in Bowling Green.
Now, when you were in 9th grade, when you were talking about the Depression and everything so bad here, was that, was the mine closed at Tillman, or was it just running slow?
It was running slow. It was running very, very slow. Very slow. They was still operating then, but it shut down, and we started dismantling it when I was in the 10th grade. That's when started dismantling it in 1939. 40. What is it like?
29 maybe.
No.
39.
When I was in it was 39.
Well,
So
when were you born?
23.
Okay, May
May 8th, 23.
1923. Okay.
And yeah, because in 41 I was finished. Because I gained a year when I finished the 9th grade in Fort Meade. The Bowling Green School was already a week old. So, but they allowed me to switch. And I got here out of school 9th grade Friday. Monday I started 10th in August. And I finished in December. So I kind of got ahead of myself. But I wasn't the only one. I mean, you know, we all kind of jumped up with it. So, but that helped. So we were free to pick strawberries and whatever. But then what happened, I guess too many of us left Fort Meade. Now, I don't know, this is just a guess. Because the next year, Fort Meade started a strawberry school. Now,
So there were strawberry farms in Fort Meade.
Oh yeah, there were a lot of strawberries, but they didn't start this school. But the next year, I guess too many students left to go. This is just a guess. Nobody told me this, but I'm assuming they must have put a hole in Fort Meade because Fort Meade started their strawberry school 1 year later, which meant that several of the people that went with me for the 10th grade left and went back to Fort Meade. Quite a few of them. I mean, maybe most of them. Anyway, they went back. But I didn't. I stayed. I liked it there.
And you went to, now at that time you graduated in the 11th or 12th grade?
Well,
You went to the 12th.
well, actually, I left in the 12th. I left
For the Navy?
for the Navy. But actually, I didn't leave in the 12th for the Navy. I left because there was no longer a Tillman. And my dad, which had supplied this guarding help for the Orlando Utilities many years before, of course, we had to go back to Orlando, so he could make a living. He went to the Orlando Utilities. So I left and we moved to Orlando.
That was quite an adjustment, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Because Orlando was already a big city.
30,000, which was big compared to us. But we moved to Orlando, and of course he went to work at the power company. And I did not re-enter school. I don't know why, but I didn't. And I had an older brother that was working in a grocery store. So he said, "We need you to deliver groceries." So I went to the grocery store and I started delivering groceries on a bicycle. This chief petty officer in the Navy would come in once a week to buy groceries. And he always seemed to look me up or find me or something and talk about the Navy. And he continued that till suddenly we knew war was getting close because England was already at war. We knew it was getting close. So I don't know, but we began to get, I guess, patriotic or something. But one day when he was talking to me, I decided, because he assured me that I would be an engineer. I would go in and I would have the training, and if I passed the aptitudes, that's what I would be. So anyway, I was only 17 years old and I hadn't quite reached 18. So I talked to my dad and he didn't want me to go. He said, wait. But anyway, that's a long story. But he did agree to sign for me to go in what they called a minority cruise. That meant at 21, I'd be eligible for discharge. If you're under 18, you parent had to sign, and you just stayed 21. So, anyway, he agreed to do that. Well, there was 8 of us at that time trying to join the Navy. And it seemed like every day I was called back for another exam, another this, and another written test, and this just kept on. So finally I asked this guy, what's going on? And he said, we only take the cream of the crop, and the rest can go in the Army. That's what he said. And he said, we have to make sure before. So we continued this, and suddenly I was 18 while we're doing this. Then he said, bring your dad in. I said, why? He says, you just passed 18 and now you have to go in for 6 years. So anyway, I went home and I told my dad. He said he fools, didn't he? I said, I guess, Dad, but you know, I want to go. So he went and signed, and I went in the Navy for 6 years. And I stayed. But anyway, I was an engineer in the Navy. I think I was a good engineer.
Well, let me ask you something. Did you get your GED in the Navy?
Oh, no, let me tell you what I did. I came home.
After 6 years?
No, I came home while I was in the service one time. And I went to Wauchula. And I said, I'd like to get my diploma. You know, that I started, but I had to go to work. Anyway, he said, we'll just give you a test and see if you can pass. So I took a test, and I passed. So I got my diploma from Wauchula High School. I mean, that's how I got it. I went, they gave me a test. So I got my diploma there. After I was still in the service, but I came home once and I figured, you know, I was a pretty good student.
I bet you were.
Yeah. So I just and so I got my. It's down there in the museum now. I stuck it in there.
Well, let me ask you something. Your family would go to Bowling Green or Fort Meade when it came time to go buy groceries or